It sounds like if you take Don Sweeney at his word that they've been talking to Brad Marchand since training camp time and have been unable to apparently come to terms on a deal. And does that sound like Don Sweeney putting a little pressure on the player to you?
A little bit, but I mean, clearly the pressure's on him. I mean, the Boo Birds are out at the Garden and it's not fun. But if I might, just for a second, he's been here for a long time, and so has Cam Neely. And since Neely got here in around 2010, it's been a pretty good run. I mean, they've been to they won a cup. They've been to the finals 3 times. They're almost every year in the first or second round, at least that much. They've only not qualified twice. And I think 5 of the 15 years they lost to the eventual champion. That's a pretty damn good record. And he shows.
See, it's great to hear you say that, because the argument against when we're taking calls or text messages, the argument is that on both of them that they haven't won the cup enough. I hear that from Curtis sometimes. I hear that from others.
Well, they won it once.
Yeah,
and he didn't win it. He hasn't won it as the GM, so I mean, he doesn't have that.
Well, he was there in an executive role, but it's not easy to win the damn thing. I've said this before. There are like 30-plus teams in the league. Your law of averages says you're going to win it once every 30 years, but and look at the droughts that the teams have. St. Louis has won it once. They've been in existence since 1967.
Look at the drought that the entire country of Canada is undergoing. They haven't won it for a long time either.
Yeah, I think he's shown some cojones in various points. In Sweeney's first year, he had to trade Dougie Hamilton, got first-round picks, traded Milan Lucic, got first-round picks. He's been recognized as an award-winning GM, and Neely's been here, right by his side. So, but my point is, it's not that bad, and they both care, and they both work at it. But now they are facing an issue. Since we're on to it, the draft has been very iffy for the most part for the last decade. The decision in free agency to sign David Backes or Rick Nash, trade for him, and then they made a mess of Lindholm and Zadorov. Lindholm's not a bad player, but he's a third liner right now, which is not what you pay a guy $7+ million for. And Zadorov looks like he's a 4/5 defenseman, kills penalties, not going to give you a whole hell of a lot. I mean, it's put them into a difficult situation. So now the pressure's on, and I don't think they need to be jettisoned at this point, but I think they have to be put on alert that the next 2 years are going to be important. If you look at the Washington Capitals, they made a remarkable turnaround in about two to 3 years. They got rid of some key players like Oshie and Backstrom, and all of a sudden they drafted well, and their free agent picks were excellent, and now they're at the top of the Eastern Conference by a bundle. I mean, there's room to grow, but I'm afraid that if they fall off the edge here and they don't make the right decisions, then it could be a long, dark, deep period of trouble for the Bruins.
So if you were them, would you want Marchand going forward? Would you want to invest in?
I have always said that when players get to be this age, the sentiment should be thrown out the window. You can always re-sign this guy if you want in the summer. And I know he wants to be a Bruin for life, but, I wanted to be a Bruin for life. And Harry told me once he almost traded me to Edmonton. If I weren't a Bruin for life, I'd be wearing 3 or 4 rings.
Hey, Mike, I'm just curious, though, how many coaches can you fire? Like, how many times can Don Sweeney blame the coach that he hired for the issues?
Well, I mean, it's a merry-go-round with a coaching thing, and sometimes it's unfair to coaches, but sometimes you think that's the way to go. And you can fire as many coaches as you want as long as you bounce back and find a way to win. Right now, they're on a very difficult cliff, and whatever he does, he's going to have to get right over the next 2 to 3 years if they give him the chance, which I think they should. But he's going to have to do things like with Marchand and just say, Brad, thanks. I really appreciate it. You can come back and see me in July and we'll talk about it. But we're in a really tough situation. Your time has come. Your time is gone with us for now. And maybe we can extend it a little bit at the right price in the future. But he's got to play hardball, not heartstrings.
Well, and if you talk about that 2 to 3, if you want that 2 to 3 year turnaround, you really you don't have much trade bait wise now to offer. It really is Brad Marchand. We were talking earlier this morning, 6:00 hour, about Carlo. There's value there. Geeky, Trent Frederick. There's some value there, but Marchand is really where you get it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the first thing they have to do, and I would have done it by now, and I think they probably have, is identify the untouchables. It's a very short list, and Swayman's on it, and I still think McAvoy should be on it, and Lowry has, but those two guys need a slap in the head. I mean, they're so undisciplined. Despite all their talent, they make mistakes that they shouldn't be making, especially McAvoy at this point in his career. And I point that to the coaching staff, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't trade either one of those two guys. And Pasternak, after that, please put me on the table, put me in the resell aisle, and let's get to work here. Let's find out who wants what and who's thinking that maybe Pavel Zacha could be a great third-line player for them and help them in their cup run, or Trent Frederick could bring some muscle. But all those guys, they got to be in play.
Blowing leads, lead after lead after lead, as they have and as they did the other night. Who do you put that on?
There's not one answer to that. What's going on in the background? Are people dancing
Wally,
there? Are you at a nightclub?
No, Wally just showed up. Wally the Green Monster is here. Which, honestly, great retirement job. I'm surprised you haven't retired to Florida at this point.
You know what? I mean, there's just too many old people there.
I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, I know.
You're in the category.
I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. It's a good change of pace, but I don't know if I could take it like we can for.
Lot in common with people down here. You can talk about your various ailments and illnesses. I mean,
a lot of
Greg.
pickleball though. Yeah. Mike doesn't love the pickleball sounds and stuff.
So yeah, there is a lot of pickleball.
No, pickleball is an invitation to the orthopedic surgeon.
The sun cures everything. Mike, this is where I kind of I get what you're saying about the organization being successful, but I feel like that's a complacent way of thinking, because we wouldn't hold any other organization in the city to the same standard. Like, yes, you've been to multiple Stanley Cups. You've only won one. You've been in the playoffs multiple times. I get that. But isn't the goal to win championships? And if guys that are in the front office are not able to accomplish that, don't you have to see if you can maybe move on to other people that might be able to do that?
The goal is to win a championship, and I think that's their goal. I think they've been pretty close to grabbing it. I don't think people around here, or anywhere for that matter, respect how difficult it is to get that done. And who are you going to bring in here that's going to be better than the two guys that are running the ship right now? Who's got the answer?
I don't know the guys, but I mean, I guess when does the ownership get to the point where they go, okay, we've been good, we've been competitive, but we're not able to get over the hump?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question, and I think that they flirted with success. 3 years ago in 22, they were setting a record for wins, and it looked like they were going to be the Stanley Cup champions, especially after Sweeney made some brilliant moves to add pieces to the puzzle, and it failed, and I blame that on the coach at that time. I think he made some really bad decisions. But to answer your question, I think they've earned the chance to sort of reset the team. And I give them one more chance, and I think the timetable is 2, maybe 3 years. And if they can't reset it with fresh centermen and now a real sense of we're moving forward towards a Stanley Cup run, then I think it's time to make a change. But I think these guys have they haven't grabbed the brass ring, and that's a fair question. You know, everybody wants the brass ring, but it's just not that easy to do. And these guys have come really close and done some really good things along the way. Made some mistakes, and have to face them, especially in free agency. But I think I would give them another crack at it. But I'd say in my mind as an owner, I would say that they're on alert.
Is Brad Marchand here? Is he a Bruin after the deadline or not?
As I've said before, he's the best left wing in Bruins history. All due respect to Johnny Busick, because he could do so many more things and skated better. But I think in the best interest of the club, he should not be here. He should be traded, and he should be looking forward to that. But there's this stickiness to people who've been in positions. I mean, why isn't Sidney Crosby going in to ask for a trade? I mean, he's going nowhere. His team sucks. And he's dying on the vine. Or Evgeny Malkin, go ahead.
You can't, Mike. You can't rip Sidney Crosby. We're at the owner's park here. John Henry will not tolerate any Penguins conversation.
Give him another cigar and tell him to sit down.
All right, Mike Milbury, great to talk to you. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, see ya.